Any reassurance you find is at best temporary. That's why I try not to reassure my clients that everything will be fine. You can't get any real reassurances, everything will be fine. You have no guarantees. Once you accept and acknowledge the radical uncertainty of life, you can stop thinking about dangerous possibilities. Acceptance of the radical unknown is much more effective than reassurance. When you attempt to be reassured, you eventually feel more uncertain and more insecure, no matter how much reassurance you ask for and get. You need to understand that you create your own separate realities, and you need to understand that others create their own separate realities as well. Once you fully understand this, you have more respect and more compassion for others. You'll be able to see others, particularly when they are in bad moods, more objectively and more impersonally. You create psychological room for others to be who they are. Once you understand the first principle, you clear up confusion about responsibility. You'll stop thinking that others or events are responsible for your separate reality, your thinking, feeling, and actions. And you'll stop believing you're responsible for others' separate realities, their thinking, feelings, and actions. When your separate reality is one of frustration and helplessness, you are caught up in thinking that others or events are creating your experiences. Once you can understand separate realities, you see your problems are self-inflicted. This doesn't mean blame yourself. Rather, use this understanding to your advantage to create a different reality. Separate realities is a powerful concept. If you can really grasp this notion, your life will become much smoother and much happier. You need to realize that there is no one reality that everyone experiences. Each person experiences life differently. You have your separate reality, I have mine, and each other person on the planet has his or hers. If you're in a spot where your separate reality is that you're insecure, for you that's true. You become insecure. Does that mean that automatically others know you are insecure? They can only infer that. They have no way of knowing for sure. Problems in relationships are usually caused because one or both people try to squeeze two separate realities into one. The source of nearly all interpersonal conflicts is the same. One person believes that he or she has the true reality and tries to convince another person of the rightness of this point of view. Believing your reality is right and others are wrong is the source of much of your distress. Sometimes it works the other way. Sometimes you're insecure because you believe your separate reality is wrong. You automatically assume everyone else's is right. In your separate reality, you are doing poorly, are dressed wrong, or have said the wrong thing. And you believe others must be sharing your reality, that they must see you as doing poorly, dressed wrong, or saying the wrong thing. Once you really understand the first principle, here it is again, through your mind, via your thoughts, you create your separate reality. You see that each person lives in a separate reality. You then can start to see the way others behave more accurately. For example, when someone acts badly towards you, you can see that it is due to the other person's low state of mind and thoughts of insecurity, rather than due to something you have said or done. You can see that this person lives in his or her own separate reality, and for the moment, this person's reality is at a low state. You can give that low mood to the other person, accept his or her low mood, and get on with creating your separate reality. Don't dwell on the other person's moods and insecurities. You are free to think differently than the other person. It's your choice. You can dismiss what you don't want others to do as just thoughts, and tuck them in the back of your mind and focus on more useful thoughts. You create your separate reality, and once you realize that, you'll stop dwelling on what you don't want in your life and start creating a reality you want. Now I'd like to talk about principle 2. Your state of mind is directly related to your mood. To really have the first principle click in, you need to use it in conjunction with the second principle. You want to go for positive feelings, because when your mood goes up, so does your ability to make wise, common-sense decisions. Why? Because your awareness expands. Remember, in your mind you are constantly making decisions on what you think, what to believe, and what to act on. Learn to create positive moods so that you have the clarity and wisdom to make positive and helpful choices. Each of your moods has a corresponding state of mind. Your moods activate emotional-related memories and thoughts. This is why your mood is so important. If you're in a positive mood, your associated memories and thoughts will be positive. How you think about the world and view the world depends on what mood you're in. Remember, how you see the world at any moment is how you believe the world really is. See the world as positive, and you will have a positive experience. See the world as threatening, and you'll feel threatened. When you're in a low mood, you feel insecure. You are overly sensitive, and in fact you actively search out negativity. Take, for instance, a possible emotion-laden thought like, I could get cancer someday. Now, if you're thinking this when you're in a positive mood, you'll think a thought like this, dismiss it, and move on to the next thought. You'll store the thought away in your mental filing system and move on to the next thought. But if you're thinking this when you're in an insecure mood, you'll be unable to let the thought go. You'll keep chewing on it. The thought itself will have superstitious power over you. You'll stay in a low mood, possibly sinking lower, as you obsess on the idea of cancer coursing through your body. Similarly, if you have a positive thought, when you're in a good mood, you'll savor it. In a negative mood, you'll dismiss it right away. One fellow I know was in a foul mood when he was driving to work. Without meaning to, he had a positive thought. He thought the flowers along the freeway looked especially beautiful. Once he caught himself thinking something positively, he immediately dismissed it and imagined in his mind's eye what the surroundings would look like after a nuclear attack. Your moods, while different from your thoughts, do interact with your thoughts. Your thinking can create your moods. But if you're sick, tired, or have low blood sugar, your moods are also affected. And your mood, in turn, affects your thinking. Once you're in a mood, you see the total world from this vantage point. If you're insecure, you believe you have always been insecure and will always be insecure. If you're feeling good, you believe you will always feel good. Moods are all pervasive. Think back to some time that you were upset about an issue in your life. You probably felt terrible, and even more, you probably believed you'd feel terrible forever. A good example is the loss of your first love. If you're like most people, somewhere in your youth you were rejected or ignored by someone you felt was wonderful. Can you remember that pain? If so, you probably can remember how you thought you'd never get over the loss, and yet you did. But if someone was telling you at the time that you would, you didn't believe it. And yet, here you are years later, and probably many painful thoughts later, each one of which you got over. When you're in a lower mood, someone giving you common sense usually doesn't help. When you were a teenager, why didn't it help when someone, probably a parent or aunt or uncle, told you that you'd get over the painful rejection? Because the lower your mood state, the less likely it is that common sense helps. You believe your negative and low thoughts more than you believe